Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West on this cool August morning here in Brookfield. My name is Jen Lucan, and I am honored to serve on your board of trustees. In this place, we occupy the traditional territory of the native peoples of the Seven Council Fires, Ho-Chunk, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Menominee, Peoria, and the Miami Nations. These people have cared for this land for millennia, and those of us who are newcomers can learn from their example and their teachings. We also acknowledge our continued need to address racism, which continues to lead to the violent deaths of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We know that racism, white colonialism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia perpetuate inequalities, injustices, poverty, and exclusion in the U.S. society. We commit ourselves to becoming an anti-racist faith community dedicated to equity, racial justice, and right relations. It's so good to be together as a loving and evolving community, gathering in and among so many different spaces. We especially note the substantial part of our gathered community to those joining from their homes online or on their phones. Whether we are physically together, our hearts and spirits are as one. Here are a few things to help you settle in as you feel at home today. If you're a newcomer, in person or with us online, and you'd like to connect further, please talk with myself after the service, or send an email to the visitor at uucw.org, or use the welcome side, this blue slip, that you received when you entered the sanctuary. You can put that form in the offering basket later. For children, the nursery is open downstairs, and grades 5 and younger are invited to attend the Hands-on Nature program. For those who need a little extra, need something to do with their hands today, there's the exploration table over here. Also, you can go into the community room just outside the doors. It's available, and the service is going to be live streamed out there if you need to step away. We'll be offering a time in the service today for spoken joys and concerns. If you would prefer to put something down in writing, you can use the share side of the blue form, and you can put that in the offering basket as well. If socializing is something that is for you, there's coffee and tea after the service today. I'll be there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you prefer a quieter space, and you're welcome to stay in the sanctuary, and others may be here to join you in conversation as well. And lastly, I want to just highlight a couple of things which you may find in your order of service for announcements. Today, number 7, the llamas make and take the Join the Earth Spirit today after the service in the community room, making rolled beeswax candles. And then also number 8, with Dave Cicero, the director of the Lifespan Religious Education, he's going to be in there to answer any questions about the RE program. And number 10, the UUCW auction is coming. I know that's been a really big deal over the past couple of years, and it's been very successful. So if there's anything you would like to do to become involved in that, please consider. And let's see. Something else I wanted to highlight too was number 13. So dining out to support Sophia. If you're looking for dinner one night, Culver's on Blue Mountain and Elm Grove is partnering with Sophia. They're doing a lot of great work right now, and I know their funds, they definitely need help with donations, funds, things like that. They're losing a lot of their funding, and they're doing some really great work. So if you can go eat out that night, part of their, from 4 to 8, part of the sales that night will go toward that organization. All right, it really is a privilege to have this once-a-week opportunity to explore and create meaning in the company of others. May this morning's service guide us on the path of truth and of love. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Eddie Daniel, and my pronouns are he and him. I am a member of the worship ministry team, which is responsible for the services when our minister, the Reverend Jill Braithwaite, is not in the pulpit. It is my privilege to be leading the service today. Our guest speaker is Matt Meyer, who is a lifelong Unitarian Universalist with a long background as a musician and a worship leader for UU congregations. Matt lives in Boston, but travels as an itinerant worship leader, bringing the good news of Unitarian Universalism to hundreds of congregations all over the country. He serves as the Director of Operations for Sanctuary Boston, a contemporary UU worship community that centers music and ritual. Sanctuary Boston's worship band just released an album of original UU music that's available at his table at a stand out in the community room after the service. Matt is also a published children's book author, and his story, which you will hear, called Desmond Gets Free, won a Nautilus Award for Social Justice in Children's Fiction. Very cool. And on a personal note, Matt is so accomplished that I had very little to do for this service. I'm very grateful for Matt as an itinerant worship leader. Welcome, Matt.
In my home congregation, we have a saying, which is we're going to start with some singing and we're going to finish up with singing. And mostly what we're going to do in the middle is singing. And I invite you to sing and join in whatever way your spirit needs this morning. If the words to the songs elude you and you want to just hum along, that is okay. That is just as good. And if what you need this morning is to not sing at all, but just to sit in silence and soak in the sound of the room, that is okay too. That is just as good. And if what you need this morning is to sing out like you are alone in the car with your radio, you are invited. This is the time for it. Our call to worship will begin with a song. Your part goes like this. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. That's the whole thing. Let's try it together. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Beauty above us, beauty before us, beauty within us and beauty between us. So call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Love above us, love before us, love within us and love between us. So call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Amen.
Now I'll invite Jen to light our chalice as we speak together the words for the chalice lighting, which are found in your order of service. Before the burning bush of this world, asking us to love all its holy, hurting ground, come with whatever seed of faith you can muster and listen. Listen for the voice of God thundering softly in your depths. Listen with your hunger, your hurt, your heart with all its wisdom cultivated over time in the company of others. These are the soils from which God calls us to blossom and bloom, to bear fruit that nourishes and grow our future with care. This tending requires courage, but it is not a sacrifice. Just let yourself unfold in the direction of shared flourishing. Maybe you are a cleansing fire or a safe place to rest. Maybe you are the grit that won't let us give up. Maybe you are the queer love poem that opens something holy and hopeful in 1,000 other people. There are a million ways to be love in this groaning and gorgeous world. And now let's rise in body or
Let's
in
stay
spirit.
seated for just a minute until I teach you the song.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we're going to try 3 songs all at the same time. I hope you're feeling ambitious this morning. We Unitarian Universalists are descended on our Unitarian side from the Puritans. And I live in Boston and worship at some of our old congregations where there was a great controversy that once came to our tradition. There was a controversy among our ancestors that split our communities apart, that had people storming out of the pews, that had people excommunicated, back when we did that kind of thing. It was the controversy of whether we should allow hymns in worship. And before the heresy of hymns came to our congregations, our people only sang the Psalms. We only sang them in call and response a cappella together. And so we're going to honor those Puritan ancestors with a lot of call and response singing this morning, but we're going to do it with some theology and, goodness knows, with some rhythm that would have them rolling over in their graves. So I'll teach you these songs. Some of them you already know. The first one goes like this. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. The second one goes like this. So when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, how I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. The third one was a little newer to me. It goes like this. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. Let's try that. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. So we're gonna start with that one, then we'll add Swing Low, and then we're gonna add Oh When the Saints. You can pick whichever one you know best or like best and just hold on tight and don't let go. Or you can try going back and forth between them. Or if you know some other songs that work well with these, you just go ahead and throw them right in. I just learned 2 more this week. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. And I'll say that all 3 of these songs come out of an African-American music tradition of resilience, a tradition of looking the most difficult circumstances in the eye directly and singing about a better world to come anyway. Whether that world comes in the next life or whether it's something that we can create here on this earth is still to be determined. But I think in uncertain times such as these, this is a tradition and a gift that can help us remain grounded and sing about that better world to come wherever we may find it or build it. I'm going to sing. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. Keep going. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Now any of the 3. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. How I want to be in that number when the saints go marching. All right, a little louder, here we go. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. All right, you're gonna need your hands to put down the sheet. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. Here we go. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. Keep going. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. One more time. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. Well done. Let's take a deep breath. You may be seated as you exhale and set the song down gently. That went so much better than the looks on your faces ahead of time led me to think it might. Today's service is about holy doubt, about what are the things we come across in our world that we are worth questioning, and what are the things that we put our faith in? What are the values that do root us and help us approach difficult situations? It's about doing the work of justice and doing it in community. And so I have just the story for you. Desmond the mouse lived in the most beautiful meadow in all the land. Every morning, Desmond would wake with the sunrise and spend the whole day long playing in that meadow. And every night, Desmond would go to sleep right in the middle of the meadow under the beautiful starry sky above. One night, though, Desmond woke to find that it was still dark out. So he tried to roll over and get more comfortable and go back to sleep. But something was not right. He could hardly move, and his tail behind him, his tail was throbbing with pain. Reaching behind him, he felt that there was some sort of, it felt like some sort of huge boulder had somehow fallen just on his tail in the middle of the meadow. He reached back and he tried pushing on this giant boulder, trying to move it with all of his strength, but it didn't budge. Then when that didn't work, he grabbed his tail and he tugged on his tail to get loose, tugging with all of his might, but it didn't work. He kept trying, though. He was scared and he was in pain and he was pushing and tugging and pushing till finally he was out of breath and he was exhausted and he had just about given up when he saw an animal passing by through the meadow. It was a tall giraffe. And so he called out, "Oh, giraffe, it seems that some sort of boulder has fallen just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could use your powerful legs." Uh-oh.
Sorry, we're getting a silver alert.
Oh. He called out to this tall giraffe, "It seems a boulder has fallen just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could use your powerful legs to push it, well, even just a few inches in the other direction, I could get free." Well, the giraffe laughed at Desmond, the way giraffes do. "You silly mouse," he said. "That's no boulder that's fallen on your tail in the middle of the meadow. That is an elephant that's fallen asleep on your tail in the middle of the meadow." Well, Desmond thought about that for a moment and thought, maybe that's good news. In that case, if you could just gently wake the elephant up and ask him to roll over even just a few inches in the other direction, I could get free. "I don't know about that," said the giraffe. Surely you must know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times such as these. Well, Desmond sighed, I do not appreciate your neutrality. The giraffe wandered off, and Desmond tried shouting as loud as he could to wake the elephant, but those giant elephant ears were at the way other end of that giant elephant body, and he didn't move. His voice was just too small. But he kept at it, and then he tried pushing again, and he tried tugging on his tail, and he tried shouting, and then he tried shouting and pushing and tugging and pushing and shouting over and over again. So finally he was out of breath and exhausted, and had just about given up, when he saw another animal passing by through the meadow. This time it was a gazelle, and he called out, "Gazelle, it seems that an elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could just gently wake him up and ask him to roll over, even just a few inches in the other direction, I could get free." "I don't know about that," said the gazelle. "Surely you must know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times such as these." Well, the gazelle wandered off, and Desmond said almost to himself this time, "I do not appreciate your neutrality." Desmond tried again. He tried shouting as loud as he could. He tried pushing with all of his strength and tugging with all of his might, and he tried shouting and pushing and tugging and pushing and shouting. So finally he was exhausted and out of breath and had just about given up for the last time when he saw another animal passing by through the grass. This time it was another mouse. And when he called out, that mouse ran right over and introduced himself. He said, "My name is Nelson. What seems to be the problem?" Well, no sooner had Desmond explained the situation than Nelson ran all the way to the other end of that giant elephant body, and he shouted up to those giant elephant ears at the top of that giant elephant head, "Excuse me! It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail in the middle of the meadow. If you could roll over just a few inches in the other direction, he could get free." Well, the elephant heard Nelson's little mouse voice way down on the ground, but it was just a bit too small and a bit too far away. And between you and me, I think maybe that elephant was just a bit too comfortable. He didn't budge. So Nelson thought about that for a moment, and then he ran back to Desmond and he said, "I think I might have an idea. Stay right here. Don't move." And he ran off into the grass, leaving a confused look on Desmond's face. And just when Desmond was starting to get a little worried again, he saw Nelson emerge back through the grass. But this time he wasn't alone. He had found 3 other mouse friends, and each of them, they had each done their job. They had each found another 3 friends. The whole group of them, they ran all the way to the other end of that giant elephant body, and one mouse, she climbed up on the shoulders of another, and another mouse climbed up on her shoulders till they made a whole mouse ladder all the way up the back of that giant elephant head. And then finally, Nelson climbed up the shoulders of his friends one by one till he stood right at the opening of that giant elephant ear. And he shouted with all of his little mouse voice, "Excuse me! It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail in the middle of the meadow. Roll over just a few inches so he can get free." Well, this time he was just too close and too loud to ignore. And so the elephant complained, but then he rolled over, just a few inches in the other direction. Nelson and his friends climbed back down to the ground carefully, and they met up with Desmond, who was free at last. And the whole group of them, well, they spent the rest of that day together playing at the edge of the meadow. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said that if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you've already taken sides. You've taken sides with the powerful, and you've taken sides with the oppressor. And he said if an elephant is ever standing on the tail of a mouse, the mouse will never appreciate your neutrality. Archbishop Tutu believed in a God who took sides, a God who took sides with the orphan and the widow and the oppressed everywhere. And as Unitarian Universalists, well, we may or may not share a belief in that same God, but we have covenanted to build a world of justice and equity and compassion together. And that means working for and imagining a world very different than the one we see around us today. So we come together in congregations and communities like this to do together what we could not do alone. And we come together to take sides for justice, to take sides for equity and compassion. That means that we gather here together to side with love. May it be so, and may we make it so. We're going to begin our time of joys and sorrows this morning with, you guessed it, a song. It goes like this. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Would you join me? Love has made a place for you where everything is new. One more time. Love has made a place for you where everything is new.
Nice introduction. So now we enter a time for sharing of joys and sorrows that touch our individual lives. Our way of expressing through ritual the many ways that we touch and are touched by each other. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share your joy or concern. If you have something you'd rather not share aloud, you can use the QR code on the order of service or the share side of the blue slip that you received to put something in writing. Raise your hand if you need a writing implement. For those of you at home and for anyone at other times during the week, you can use the link in our weekly e-news to let us know what's going on in your lives and in your heart. What you share aloud today is only for the ears of those gathered here. It will not be in the posted video of the service or shared in our e-news. So, come to the mic if you have a joy or concern to share, or raise your hand and an usher will bring you a mic. I will light a candle for you, and after each sharing, I invite you all to respond with me, "We hold you in love." Anyone else? Okay, now I will light one more candle for all the joys and concerns that we hold deep in our hearts.
Let's sing together. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Spirits made. Spirits made a place for you where everything is new. And grace has made. Grace has made a place for you where everything is new. Our next song is Hold On, written by Heidi Wilson, who lives in Vermont, but the song became an anthem of the resistance to the occupation in Minneapolis this past winter. Sung in the evening in church vigils and gatherings, sung in marches, sung through megaphones off the back of pickup trucks. This has been a song that has resonated wherever folks are fighting injustice, fighting separation of families, and calling out for a more loving world. It goes like this. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. Let's try that. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. Again. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. I'll invite you to rise in body or spirit. Let's sing it this time for those living in fear of such occupations, living in fear of masked authorities coming with guns in their hands wherever they may be. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. Again. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. If you know anyone in your life who is anticipating the dawn, who has been or is in a dark night, those who have struggled with violence in the headlines or in our neighborhoods in the last year and a half in particular, I invite you to hold them in your heart, hold them in your thoughts, and sing this for them. And let's try it with some more harmony. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. Hold on, hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. And if this is a song you could use this morning, I invite you to place a hand on your own heart and sing it to yourself. Hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. Hold on, hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. And I invite invite you to look around the room and sing this to each other. And let's hear the sound of this community. We can do it in at least 11-part harmony. I know we can. Let's sing it to each other, beloveds. Hold on, even slower. Hold on, my dear ones, here come the dawn. Hold on, hold on, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. Take a deep breath. You may be seated as you exhale. I grew up just outside of Chicago. One of the first things I did when I got my driver's license was come on a road trip to visit my UU teenage friends in Wisconsin. I went to drum camp in Door County, and I loved it. And one evening at drum camp, when I was 15 or 16, I stumbled into a conversation one evening that some of my fellow students were having with one of our camp counselors, a college student, another musician. Our counselor was sharing about his own Christian faith. And when I challenged him on a particular point, being my UU self, he responded by sharing with us Pascal's wager. For those of you unfamiliar with Pascal, the thing to know is that he was a theologian and, well, he had the idea of this wager. What he said was, either God is real or not real, and you either believe in him, and it was a him, or not. There are 4 options. And so the thing to do, the rational thing to do, is to believe in God. Because by not believing, if God is real, well, you are risking a zillion years of hell. But if it turns out there's no God, well, no one's going to heaven or hell anyway, so nothing gained, nothing lost. Thus, the rational thing is to choose to believe so that you aren't rolling the dice on the most dire of gambling bets. Now, at the time, I identified as an atheist, as I still do, an atheist who prays, a mystic as well, but atheist or at least agnostic nonetheless. And this question did not convince me to believe in my camp counselor's version of God, but I secretly did struggle with it for years. I didn't want to tell anyone, I didn't want to admit to others, or even to myself really, that it seemed like belief in God was the more logical choice. It was the more rational thing to do. It was over a decade later when I finally admitted my doubt out loud. Perhaps you've heard of religious leaders who secretly doubt whether there is a God. Well, I was the atheist secretly doubting based on this wager. Until one evening, when I was doing dishes with a housemate discussing theology, like you do. And for this first time, I admitted my doubt to my housemate. I told them about Pascal's wager. And I found that being able to speak my doubts out loud opened up a conversation where I finally got to talk through my complicated feelings about that I had never spoken aloud. And it was in that conversation with my housemate that I realized you could place this wager on any religion or any idea of God. There was never a binary choice. There's almost never a binary choice between God or not. This same question could be asked of any of 1,000 different belief systems in 1,000 different religions. And in that case, I realized, well, the most strategic choice, the most rational choice, would be to believe in whichever God threatens you with the most violence for non-belief. Friends, if every God says to you, believe in me or else, the one to pick is the one whose or else is the most personally terrifying to you. And that way you have the best chance at avoiding the worst version of hell. This is the fundamental logic of the wager. The most loyalty to the most violent authority. Friends, this is no way to be religious. I hope it goes without saying, and it is no way to run a life. Any God who would treat heaven as a bribe for the faithful few is no God of love and is no God worthy of our adoration. Our Universalist ancestors founded the Universalist tradition by proclaiming this exact heresy 200 years ago. I will always remember the moment, though, in my 4th grade religion class at my Lutheran school, when my teacher told us that the Bible made it clear only 144,000 people would get to heaven. And that's not even per year. At the time, as a 4th grader, I had just learned fractions, but I still could not calculate how vanishingly small this meant my chances were. At the time, though, I responded by wanting more than anything to be good enough to make the cut. But now I recognize I would not want to be part of a club that was so exclusive to so many. But we know that unjust authorities all over the world maintain their power by offering privileges to pay off the loyalty of the few at the cost of the many. I wouldn't take that bribe, not in heaven and not on earth. Now, if you're in this sanctuary this morning, though, this is probably old news to you. Not many people even visit a Unitarian Universalist congregation without having already questioned at least the traditional idea of hell. But the story of an authority who would offer salvation to some at the cost of the many in exchange for a regime of fear and loyalty, this is a story that is still too much with us. This is the story of white supremacy. This is the story of patriarchy. It is the story of every ism that offers just enough privilege to just enough people that they don't question the injustice and the violence of the larger system on which it is founded. One of the most vivid examples of this I've read is the Flying Horses Riot, which took place in Philadelphia in 1834. An organized white mob destroyed the homes of African Americans in their neighborhood. Irish immigrants living in the same neighborhood of immigrants were told that they could put a candle in their window on the night of the coming riot, which would be a symbol to identify their homes as white, or at least not black. Their houses would be passed over and spared. These Irish immigrants, my own cultural ancestors, who are entering the racial hierarchy of this new country, were asked to pick sides. They faced a question between choosing safety for them, themselves, and their family, or dignity for all, an impossible question. Many of them put the candle in their window. They chose whiteness, and their homes were spared. Systems of injustice continue to offer bribes of privilege to many of us white folks certainly, us able-bodied folks, men and cis people, perhaps most vividly those who literally inherit money from previous generations of even greater inequality. We are promised safety and comfort for the few as long as we put a candle in our window and remain silent about the riots and the violence down the street. Dear ones, before I had admitted my doubt in atheism, I struggled with so many years with Pascal's wager. Not because I had the wrong answer, but because I was asking the wrong question. Don't just doubt the religious answers that some people give you. Doubt the questions when they don't begin with love. Doubt the questions when they are meant to divide us against each other. Doubt the questions that are meant to control. Particularly doubt the questions that are meant to divide the saved from the unsaved, or the documented from the undocumented. Now, I imagine you all are familiar with many of the major religious traditions of the world. But I want to tell you about a religious tradition that is as old as any of them and as global as all of them. I want to share with you a little bit about the ancient religious tradition of doubt. And in fact, I want to tell you about 3 traditions of holy doubt. The first goes back at least as far as Anaxagoras, whose name I have practiced saying all week long. And I kind of nailed it. He was the first, I'm just only going to try once though. He was the first person in history to be indicted in court for atheism. His crime was that he had seen a meteorite fall to the earth. And when he found that glowing hot rock lying in a field somewhere, he began to wonder if maybe all of the stars and planets in the sky might just be fiery orbs of metal and rock, instead of gods traveling back and forth in chariots. This was his crime for which he was indicted. This first tradition of doubt is a tradition of people looking up to the heavens and wondering if they're not so different from the world we can grasp here on earth as it is in heaven. This first tradition gave us the scientific method. It is doubt and unquestioned tradition, and it is belief. It is faith in learning and change. It is faith in truth seeking. A second tradition of doubt is a tradition of people looking not up to the heavens, but across to each other. Learning from each other across cultures and traditions can wonderfully lead us to second-guess our old, narrow assumptions. This tradition goes back at least as far as Xenophanes, who was also Greek, but traveled all over the ancient world, meeting people from different traditions and religions and nations. And the more he traveled, the more he thought about the Greek gods back home and how they were so Greek. He ended up theorizing that if horses ever learn to paint, I'll bet they end up painting gods that look suspiciously like horses. This second tradition is a tradition of cross-cultural engagement that invites us to see the world through another's eyes. This tradition is the basis of every movement for peace. It is doubt in the stories we may have once taken for granted, and it is belief in the experience of those who are different from us. It is belief in diversity and equity and inclusion. And a third tradition of holy doubt is the sacred tradition of questioning unearned and unjust authority. And for this last one, let's go back to the Bible itself. As an adult, I've come back to the Bible not to take it literally, but to take it seriously. And I love that the religious tradition of doubt is alive and well in Scripture. On 2 separate occasions in the story of Exodus, God gets angry with the infidelity of the Israelites. And he tells Moses, "Get out of the way. I'm going to kill the whole lot of them." And Moses, bless him, doubts God's decision and stands in the way against the genocide. First, Moses reminds God of his true, more loving nature. But I love that when it happens a second time, Moses takes a different tack and appeals to God's delicate ego and fragile masculinity. He tells God, if you kill us, you know who's going to hear about it? The Egyptians are going to hear about it. And they're going to tell all the other nations all over the world how you said that you could free us and you said you could bring us to the promised land, but you couldn't even do it. God agrees, and Scripture tells us God repents for the evil he was about to do. Beloveds, when we doubt the seemingly limitless power of violent authorities, when we resolve to stand strong as people of faith in love and in justice, even God himself may repent for his violence. This third tradition is the tradition of justice. It is doubt in unearned authority, and it is faith in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We know that any God who would treat heaven as a bribe for the faithful few is no God of love, but unjust authorities all over the world maintain their power by offering privileges to pay off the loyalty of the few at the cost of the many. Beloveds, do not take the bribe, not on earth and not in heaven. Don't just doubt the religious answers that some people give you. Doubt the questions that don't begin with love. These are three traditions of holy doubt, through which are three traditions of faith as well. Faith in the possibility of learning and change, which is a celebration of truth. Faith in the experience of those who are different from us, which is a celebration of thriving, beloved community. And faith in the inherent worth of every person, which is a celebration of justice and equity. Our chalice lighting offered this invitation to come with whatever seed of faith you can muster, and let yourself unfold in the direction of shared flourishing. And so I invite you, with whatever your own understanding of God or the divine, to join in this tradition and claim them. We UUs have inherited these religious traditions of holy doubt and these traditions of holy faith, these traditions of courage and these traditions of shared flourishing. I invite you to join me rooting ourselves in the tradition of those faithful to justice, faithful to peace, and faithful to truth. May it be so, and may we make it so. Amen.
As you know, we give half of all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to address human needs and advance social justice in our community. Our Split the Plate partner this month is Micah. Milwaukee Inner City Congregations Allied for Hope is a faith-based community organizing nonprofit organization that's been doing justice since 1988. Micah is a multi-faith and multiracial organization. And with us today is Hannah Freeman to tell us more. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you. It's really good to see so many of your faces. I think it's been maybe a couple of months since I've been here, and I've missed this. So thank you for having us back. I would just want to talk really quickly about the work that Micah does. We are an organization that builds community power. And so what we say is that community power is built on organized people and organized money. So today is an invitation to give to Micah through Split the Plate, but I also want to talk about some of the ways that we're organizing people, especially right now underneath an authoritarian regime. So one of the things that we're doing, especially over the summer up through the election, is something called democracy hubs, where we're encouraging congregations to get together, 3 to 4 congregations, and make plans to go out and canvass in the neighborhood and have conversations about what's really happening with our neighbors. It's an opportunity not just for us to build community, but for us to practice democracy and having conversations about what is going on in our neighborhoods and what it is we can do about it. Another thing that we're doing is something called thriving congregations. It's a process where congregations spend about 18 months to 2 years going through a sacred renewal process. What that looks like is having some intentional conversations inside of the congregation about what is happening, how people are being impacted by the world that we live in, and then taking those conversations back out into the community and seeing where they're at, right? How do we build those relationships and those connections and actually weave together the story of who we are? The next part of that is sacred discernment, where the congregation spends time thinking about what they heard, what they're feeling, and what their faith calls them to. And the third part of that is always action. So we encourage congregations to take some sort of action based on what they hear, they feel, and what their faith calls them to in community, not just as a congregation, but with the community around them. The reason we're doing this is because we're in a moment where we have people in power who think that only one or two people should be able to do whatever they want to do. Only one or two people should be able to make decisions. Well, in order for us to fight back against that, we have to practice radical inclusion and a radical democracy that is literally built from the ground up for every single one of us. So I encourage you all to give today. This work does take money, but also to consider how UUCW could fit into that work of building democracy from the ground up, right where we are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Your offering today will help support Micah, or you can go to UUCW website, the Donate tab, and select Split the Plate from the menu, or you can text or mail your donation today using the information found on the screen. Thank you for your generosity, and we'll now gratefully accept your offerings.
There's no minimum and no maximum, is that right?
We could give a minimum.
Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. Listen, my people, we bring the power. La libertad es la única bandera. Liberty is the only flag. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza, la libertad es la única bandera. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza, la libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. No human being can ever be illegal. No human being can ever be illegal. No human being can ever be illegal.
Please join with me in reading the words for the dedication of the offering, which are in the order of service. To the work of this community, which is to ground ourselves in love and joy, and to act for inclusion and justice, we dedicate ourselves and these our offerings.
Our closing song was written by Bernice Johnson Regan, founder of the SNCC Freedom Singers that brought music to the civil rights movement all over the nation, also founder of Sweet Honey in the Rock. She wrote this song called We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For when she was inspired by a poem of the same name by June Jordan. And the poem was written to honor the women of South Africa that came into the anti-apartheid struggle there. There's 3 parts in this version we're going to do. First part goes like this. We are the ones, we've been waiting. Try that. We are the ones, we've been waiting. Second part. We are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we've been waiting. Third part. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Again, we are the ones we've been waiting for. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Again, pick whichever part you like best. Go back and forth, or go ahead and make up parts 4, 5, or 8. This is yours to do. Let me hear you. Here we go. We are the ones we've been waiting. Again, we are the ones we've been waiting. Keep going. We are the ones we've been waiting. We are the ones we've been waiting. Keep going. We are the ones we've been waiting for. 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 Here we go. We are the ones we've been waiting for. 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 4 more. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. 2 more. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Last time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Beloveds, may we go forth rooted in the traditions of holy doubt, which are also traditions of faith. Faith in justice, in peace, and in truth. Go in peace, go in truth, and go in love, and go and be blessed as you are each a blessing to others. Amen.